Peace, YouTube, what it do? It's your boy Justin Bass back in another video. And just when I thought I was done doing videos this evening, I saw something interesting in the news. Like, let me just share this with the family real quick. You know what I mean? And this is May 25th today, pretty much. Interesting article, right? So this is what they're saying now. New York law enforcement officials issue warning for illegally purchased marijuana laced with fentanyl. As New York State continues to iron out the details of its new legalized marijuana laws, authorities have some urgent warnings for those who continue to use illegal cannabis. It's just scary how it's being handled right now, said Sergeant Phil Genier of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. But it's something we've got to cope with and educate with because it's not going away. So the police said they have found synthetic marijuana laced with fentanyl. Law enforcement officials are issuing warnings as to the dangers of marijuana laced with fentanyl. Some marijuana users are using test strips and kits to check for fentanyl before ingesting or inhaling their cannabis. That's crazy, it got to that point now. So opiate overdoses are on the rise in New York. And it's so crazy. I'm not going to say new, but someone I've seen in the city where I live just recently OD'd and passed away. I think some opiates, but it was something to do with fentanyl, I'm sure. And it wasn't marijuana though, but it was something stronger. She died from fentanyl. So, according to the State Department of Health, the New York State Department of Health continues to issue warnings, saying in a statement earlier this year, fentanyl has made street drugs far more dangerous. Definitely, because they're more fatal, people dying instantly. Even casual or occasional drugs use can result in overdose or death. We all need to be able to recognize an overdose and have access to naloxone, the medication which reverses opioid overdoses and saves lives. Yeah, Narcan. I remember when I was working in a men's shelter, we used to have Narcan kits where you have naloxone and you have other things in this kit box that can revive someone who has an opiate overdose. And Narcan, I remember Narcan is one of the things that you use to reverse the overdose. Officials are also issuing warnings as to the dangers of marijuana laced with fentanyl. That is crazy. I've known it to be on the synthetic. I have not known it to be on the marijuana in our specific area. But that really means nothing when they're being packaged by, in some references, just criminals. Genier said of hearing of reports of marijuana being laced with fentanyl. That's so sad. Genier says synthetic marijuana mixed with fentanyl is something police have been on the lookout for. The scariest part thus far that I'm witnessing is the synthetic marijuana, he said. That's the plant-based or the spiced K2, where they're spraying THC content on it, or supposed THC content. I know some of that has been field tested for positive signs of fentanyl, and it is sold throughout our city as well. This is New York State. He says higher THC levels in marijuana is another recent cause for concern. The higher THC levels, they could be contributing to some new smokers' blood pressure dropping, he said. You may get to the point of dizziness where you may pass out. Fear of inhaling or ingesting fentanyl is prompting some marijuana users to get on board with what may be becoming a new trend of testing their cannabis before they smoke it by using easy to access fentanyl test strips and kits. It's a safer measure, right? Genier said. I mean, I field tested hundreds and hundreds of times over the last 10 years. There's some false positives. That's kind of a quick indicator of what may be present in that substance, so it's never foolproof. New York State is touting its Buy Legal campaign by promising safety. So Governor Kathy Hochul's office announced last month that it is launching a public education campaign to promote legal purchases of cannabis from licensed dispensaries. Wow, just think about that. Okay. The campaign highlights both the potential hazards of buying marijuana from an unlicensed business as well as touts the safety of regulated cannabis. To bolster the public health and safety of all New Yorkers, we are providing them with the information they need to make informed decisions and enjoy cannabis responsibly. Hochul said in a statement last month, as we continue to build a healthier, more equitable, cannabis market, I am proud to launch this important public education campaign to promote safer, legal purchases of cannabis from licensed dispensaries throughout our state. Which is 100% accurate, Junior said. I mean, that would be the safest thing. You go to where it is a state-approved location where it is for sale, and you know that all that marijuana was properly screened. If you do not go to that state location, awareness is the key to the rest of it. Junior says he is devoted to educating people about the dangers of drugs, specifically young people, and he focuses on fentanyl, he says, because it is so deadly. Junior says people will make better choices and will be safer if they have information. That's the end of the story. Monroe County. Okay, excuse me. So Sergeant Phil Jr. was Monroe County Sheriff's Officer. That's more closer to where I am in Monroe County. But end of the day, that is very, very scary there for people who's out there purchasing marijuana out in the streets. And if it was to get, spread out in a certain city or a certain part of the city, and you get a hold of that, and you get dizzy, and you get enough dosages of that fentanyl, you possibly die. It's fatal. You know what I mean? People passing out all over the place because usually the fentanyl is being found in probably heroin, maybe crack, but never heard stories of people dying from fentanyl laced marijuana. But that's crazy. And a few things I'm thinking of, could it be something that's being done purposely? Maybe they want you just to buy from specific places. Just think about it. If they could control the market where we're going to make sure they only buying from us and nowhere else. Because we're going to put the bad shit out there and nobody going to buy. So we have them coming to our dispensaries and we give them the good shit. I don't know. That's just me. I think differently. Or just some shit that just got out there. Like, how in the world is fentanyl laced marijuana just getting out of nowhere and getting in the streets? You know what I'm saying? You got all these new type of drugs being created and just formulated through the inner cities. It's just, I don't know. I just think craziness. Not saying craziness. I think differently. Let me rephrase that. I'm thinking propaganda. Is this like purposely being done and pushed into the city? Because I don't think you hear too much about this in the burbs, which I don't really think you do. Small cases of fentanyl laced marijuana. So it's just crazy. You gotta be careful out here. And hey, I would say is the best thing you can do right now is if you're buying from the streets and you're buying from unknown places, get you some test strips. Google, look around and find out where you get you some fentanyl test strips where you can put that shit in the weed before you smoke it, before you roll it, and see what the fuck is in that weed. Because them strips come back positive. 9 out of 10 them shits might be fentanyl laced. And not saying fentanyl can kill you if it's small traces. They say, I guess, if they put a mist of fentanyl in the air and it lands on the weed, you can't die necessarily from that. But who say they want to play around with some shit like that? So get them test strips if you just to be on the safe side. But at the end of the day, it's just like an attack on marijuana now. Because I just made a video recently about how they I just made a video about talking about marijuana and how they were saying it causes blood clots. But my thing is, I don't think a lot of this old school weed we grew up on, I'm an 80s kid, so I was born in 77, but I was an 80s baby, and there's no way that the stuff they had back then is as dangerous as stuff they have now. Because it's making you 10 times higher, but end of the day, why is it making you higher? Is it more extra chemicals put on there? Is it more, everything that we like, we use for, euphoria, good times, pastimes. It seems like they're kind of like tampering with and manipulating. So I don't know, propaganda or just shit just takes its course. Or like I said in the earlier video as well, do things in moderation and don't be addicted. Don't use things excessively where you can't go to bed at night, you can't wake up in the morning, you can't go to the store without having that drug or without having that substance. It's mind over matter. But end of the day, don't let your lower self control your higher. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep it there briefly. Some informative things that had to come, let the family know what's going on. Have a beautiful evening. I believe I'm done for this evening. Catch you guys on the rebound, family. Love is love. Peace. Protons, electrons, always called explosions. You all ready?